Yeah, I started when I was 13 years old playing guitar. I remember before being 13 knowing that guitar players were really cool, but never even thinking maybe I could play guitar. And then when I was with my sister and we picked up her friend who had a guitar, he put the guitar in her trunk. And when he put it in the trunk, he looked at me and he said, "Chicks dig guitar." And that was it for me. Like I ran home, I grabbed my dad's old guitar out of the back of his closet, which was an old classical guitar from when he was a kid, and it only had 2 strings on it at that point. Ran to my room, started teaching myself how to play guitar on those 2 strings. And then I eventually realized that there were more strings that I could put on the guitar and that I could purchase these strings at a guitar store. So went there, got the strings, got the wrong strings. I got electric strings to put on a classical acoustic guitar, which is the worst thing that you could possibly do. I'm lucky that it didn't fold in half when I strung it up. But that was my guitar for the next 2 years, and I just taught myself how to play, you know? It's a classic story of being in the 90s and not having access to books or teachers or anything. It's just kind of you and your friends. And I had a group of friends. We were all kind of teaching ourselves at the same time. And so you listen to songs and you figure them out, and then you teach your friends, they teach you or whatever. And it kind of goes from there. Completely self-taught, and grew up playing really the blues. The turning point for me was when I was probably 14, not too long after I'd started, but I was in a Blockbuster video. They had these tube TVs that were hanging over each aisle, and Stevie Ray Vaughan was playing. His Austin City Limits concert had just come out, and they were playing it there, and I remember just standing there staring at that television with my mouth open for probably an hour. I'd never heard anything like it, and like every single note he played just like hit me right in the middle of my chest. And I went right up to the guy at the desk and asked him who that was, and immediately went and bought every album of his I could get my hands on, and just, that was all I listened to, and that was all I played. It wasn't actually until much later in life that I started playing hymns on the guitar. Never done it before. I grew up in the church, and so I grew up with these hymns, these same hymns that so many of us know so well, and I never really felt connected to them, to be honest. I always felt like there was more there, and I wanted to explore that. And the guitar kind of gave me a way to do that, because there weren't very many guitar arrangements of hymns, at least not complex ones that like kind of search to pull out new meanings of them. And so that's kind of what I wanted to do. I wanted to kind of explore that some. Let's use a hymn that we know very well, The Spirit of God. The Spirit of God, you know, you read the words, and it's talking about screaming at the top of your lungs and singing. I mean, it is just a barn raising. And we never sing it that way, ever. If anything, we always sing it too slow, like most hymns. But we always sing it too slow with no emotion or anything. And this is the hymn that they sing at the dedication of temples. And so I wanted to find a way to portray that, to pull out that excitement of that hymn. So I decided, okay, well, what kind of style should I do? And I thought, well, what kind of style of music where the faster you play it and the louder you play it, the more exciting it is? And so clearly I started with death metal. So you sit down and it's like, the Spirit of God, oi, oi, oi. And like it just, focus group said no to that one. So thinking of that type of music that would bring that out, and I realized that I'm sitting in the middle of it here in North Carolina, because to me, Spirit of God has always been crying to be a bluegrass song, because that is really going to pull out that excitement and that emotion in it. So I did it as a bluegrass song. And I feel like for me, it captures that essence of the song. So here it goes like this. before they were just these stale pieces of music that I'd go to church every Sunday and I'd kind of mumble my way through. And music has always spoken to me in a different way. I've always believed that music is a spiritual language. And it's the most obvious evidence of a spiritual language that we have because it's just physics. That sounds the same here as it does on the other side of the universe. This, same thing. Turn that to a minor. And these are emotions that they communicate. And I feel like, you ever notice when somebody hears a piece of music and they say, that really spoke to my soul, or they call it soul music or whatever? I actually believe that that's true. I think that it is a way for our souls to speak to each other in a way that we can't really verbalize. I'm not very good with words. I find that I'm a little better with music, actual notes, but I feel like I'm able to communicate how I feel much better that way. And the difference that the hymns bring to that is that it's not my soul communicating with your soul, it's my soul communicating with his soul. And that just brings this whole new level of it to me. And being able to listen to the hymns, to play the hymns, or even think about the hymns in that kind of way rather than just seeing it as a break on Sunday in between talks or something, or as a mile marker. Okay, well now we're at the rest hymn, one more speaker and we're good. But instead, actually listening to what they have to say, there's really depth there that both sonically and lyrically that I had never experienced before. I think it's cool that I get to use guitar as a way to give, to share from my love of people, my love of God, my love of Christ, all that. And I never would have thought when I was young that I would ever be doing that with guitar. I'm sure my parents were terrified. Ben is going to graduate high school, if he graduates at all, and want to run off in a band and just live in a van for the next foreseeable decade or so. But it really comes back to, I do believe that there is something all can give, whether that's music for you, whether it's a talent, or whether it's just friendship, whether it's everybody has something that they can contribute. I was just as uncomfortable as anybody else talking to friends that were not a member of the church about my beliefs. What Mormon Guitar has done for me is it's given me a way to express those beliefs in ways that doesn't include a pass-along card. This is the window into who I am, what I believe, and what I stand for, rather than just having to always feel like you're breaking the ice with everybody. The Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, I grew up in it. I'm still in it. And it's just a part of who I am. Here's another example of taking the music to a hymn and trying to communicate the purpose or the intent of that hymn through the music. And in arranging this, I wanted to do a very simple arrangement. I wanted to communicate that idea of forever. In music, you have a beginning, a middle, and an end. Or in a passage, you have what's called a resolving chord, which is kind of like the period on the musical statement. And so I wanted to do an arrangement that didn't have a resolving chord, because there is no resolving chord in our lives. Good when I don't make mistakes, but